Hi, and welcome back. I'm here with Lori Sugarman-Li, and we're going to talk about fair play in relationships. Hi, Lori.
Hi, I'm so happy to be with you.
I'm so excited for this conversation. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
I am a trained facilitator in the fair play method and a family coach. And basically, what I say is I'm like WD-40 for families. When they feel stuck, I help support them with the language, the systems, and an understanding of how to create safe boundaries for the wellness of their family. I'm also a children's book author of this book called Our Home, The Love, Work, and Heart of Family, which I wrote as my love letter to families and a conversation starter about the way that we care for one another and the space that we share. And it really aims to bring visibility and value to the work of care and an understanding of how we can achieve equity in this work in our home.
Oh, that's so cool. So cool. I just don't have any other way to describe it. It's so cool.
Well, thank you.
The book I wish I had when my children were babies.
I do say, yes, it's a book for children, but really I crafted it to be a book for families because this conversation is really start where you are. Ideally, we're all going to be talking to our kids from the time that they're, 2 and 3 years old about their role in family wellness and about their connection to what we value. But I say that really this book is for anyone to sort of shine a light on the opportunity of wherever they are in their family journey. I've had people tell me that they bought it for their teenagers. So, in whatever way it can support the starting of critical and meaningful conversations in your home, I hope that it plays that role.
So I'm going to give a little backstory of how I met you because this is so random. I'm doing the doom scroll at 5 p.m. and up popped this reel, and you started talking about how your husband is gone out of your home for 3 days every week and how you share the responsibilities of the home while he's gone. And you explained it so eloquently that it sparked I need her to say this to first responder families because our families are apart for 3 days a week and sometimes longer. And I think if my husband and I had been sharing the load more when our kids were younger, that it would have really helped us a lot to not feel
Mm-hmm,
so
mm-hmm.
isolated in our stuff.
For sure.
And so
Yeah.
I think we just need to dig into it.
Okay, let's go. Well, listen, I came to this work and took it to the degree that I did, which is now that I'm, coaching and helping others because I needed it myself. And, I was in a place of carrying the entirety of the load of care, the work that we see and also all the work that we don't see, the invisible stuff that happens sort of in the shadows, right? When everybody's out of the house, when kids are sleeping, when your partner is at work, all the stuff that you do to manage the flow and the wellness of your family that is never seen, not to mention all the mental and the emotional labor that we do in the giving of care. And because my husband was away from the house so much, I felt very, very alone in this work. And it's not that he didn't appreciate and admire and all of these things that are wonderful and important in a relationship. I needed him to be a part of it. And so the fair play system and just to share a little bit for those listening who may not be familiar with it, Fair Play is a book written by Eve Rodsky. And what it does is it helps understand the opportunity to change the way that we talk about domestic labor and the work of care. And it also gives us a new language for it. In addition to that, it outlines the way that this is a system that can guide us in evolving how we work in our households. And there is a deck of cards, which it's 100 cards. And on each card is a task that we complete as a part of a household, a part of a family, a part of a community. And the beauty of this deck of 100 cards is when you lay these cards out on the table and recognize the volume and the scope of this work, it's such a holy moly moment. We are, or very often I am, doing one heck of a lot in support of this wonderful group of people that I love, but me carrying the entire load is not sustainable. We need to make changes around here.
Yes, 100%. So tell me how you do that when your husband is gone 3 days a week.
So, what was really helpful about using these cards to help us understand the scope of work, including laying out all of the stuff that maybe typically was invisible to him, is that we began to recognize which of the tasks were sort of the time bound, we call them the daily grind tasks, that are things that really happen in the home, in person, the shuttling of the kids, the feeding of the kids, the walking of the dog, all of the household domestic labor and all that stuff. Obviously, that needs to be done by someone who's connected to the home. But when you sort of look at all of these cards that are like filling in school forms or booking family travel or helping kids with homework or having hard conversations with kids about, who knows, puberty, whatever it is, those things can be done remotely over FaceTime on your phone. And so the opportunity is really for that person who is spending a chunk of time outside the home to acknowledge, those are actually things I could take on. There's still obviously a very heavy load for the person who's left behind, not to mention, as we were chatting about before we started recording, all of the worry that first responders, families hold and carry for the person who's gone. But the opportunity to remove some of the tasks. So, like paying bills, following up on things like insurance or booking meetings with whatever providers, renewing prescriptions. Like there are so many things that can be owned by someone who's out of the home for a significant period of time. And it really reduces very, very meaningfully what the person left at home is carrying. And what's critical to the core and the nucleus of the fair play method is full task ownership. If your partner who's away from home says to you, you know what? I really understand what you're saying. I can carry more of the load. I'm going to do the grocery order every week. Okay. That doesn't mean that they ask you to make them and send them a list and then they put it into whatever app and order the delivery. No, it means that they have an understanding of the family's preferences. They have an understanding of your schedule that week, when you might have late practice or you have a doctor's appointment after school or whatever it is that you're going to have quicker dinner or get something on the go or whatever. And they understand also when you're going to be home to receive the delivery. And maybe if they're gone for a period of time, you have a shared grocery list that you both contribute to based on what's low or what's needed or what's planned. But they are going to own that task from conception to planning to execution such that you can fully release it. And that's where the magic happens. That's when your shoulders go down. That's when you really meaningfully feel, I'm carrying less of this load.
Yeah, and I think in practice that for the first responder, that can look like us specifically for our family. I know that I am going to be mandoed tomorrow. And so I know that I'm not going to be there to help with dinner. So I'm going to send dinner to my family because I know they're going to be home at 6 and I know what they like to eat. And oh, surprise, honey, you don't need to make dinner tonight. All I have to do is receive it from the delivery guy.
That's right. And it's really all about the emotional and the mental labor behind the task, not just the execution. That's what really becomes meaningful to the family that's left. And also, you feel connected to that person in that moment, right? When they remembered all that you have going on, or to know that they were thinking that, oh, yeah, this is a stressful day for my family. I want to let them know that I'm a part of that in some way. And that's really, really meaningful too.
Yeah, it really is. It does make you feel so seen and valued in your relationship on both sides. We know that they're doing a great job, so we're carrying the load at home, and just to be seen in that is everything.
It is, the acknowledgement of the effort, the admiration. It's really interesting. I think these days it's really easy to say, well, I shouldn't have to thank someone for doing the dishes. But for me, it's the opposite. The more that we imbue this work with a sense of gratitude, because really, we tend to have these lists of chores, to dos, whatever, and it's such a slog. And especially when we invite kids to participate, if we give this energy of calling it chores and putting it in front of and in the way of the fun things that they want to do, well, who's going to want to be a part of that? But when you talk about this work as fundamentally the work of gratitude for all that we have and for those with whom we share our space, it develops a different patina. And if family members understand, yeah, we built this together, we're a team. And this home is like our organization, it's our business. We're all a part of this. And if you then face a challenge or a problem or whatever, like a plumbing issue or, something goes, if you all face it together, you're definitely going to be more successful if you look at life as a team.
Yeah, and it totally changes too. If you're not a team, if you feel like your family's disjointed and then you do these cards and you start handing out these tasks and your kids start taking agency over things, it's life changing.
Game changer, total game changer. Yeah.
It shocks me still to this day because we've given agency to our kids over certain tasks. And the other day I was just feeling so exhausted and my kids saw that. And my 15-year-old was like, "Mom, if you're tired, I can unload the dishwasher. I don't usually do it, but I can do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I'll do it. Don't worry about it. Go
Yeah.
sit down." Caught me off guard but I so appreciated it.
Yeah.
Your kids are taking responsibilities and agency over tasks,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then it makes them feel good about themselves.
Percent. I love that you use the word agency because it really can become for kids a source of pride and a great source of success. Like research will tell you that children getting involved in tasks of care and home will ultimately improve their academic success and also their personal relationships. There are all kinds of things that they're learning in tackling these tasks, in learning how to take direction or ask for help, for support if they need it, or let when something's overwhelming, or be able to communicate when they're complete. All of these things are enhancing their ability to be, future partners, but to be independent someday, right? There are a lot of families who maybe send their kids off to college without a lot of these life skills. And it's very difficult to thrive academically when you're living on your own and you don't know that you have to change your sheets once a week. And let me tell you something. If you invite someone over to your place and you haven't changed your sheets, like that's going to impact the flow of that as well. So, these life skills start early and they build to really important things.
Yes, they do. I wasn't allowing my kids to do chores. My mom was perfectionist to the core and she wanted everything a certain way. And so
Mm-hmm.
I grew up with a lot of chores that I tried to do, but just weren't quite good enough. So she'd come in and do it for me. And so
Interesting.
I developed this thing within myself where I didn't want my kids to have that.
Right.
And so I didn't give them things to do and I was trying to do it all myself, which as we know does not work.
Not sustainable. Yep.
Not
Yep.
sustainable. And so it hasn't been until like recently that I started giving them agency over certain things. And what's really interesting is what you said about academics
Mm-hmm.
and how grades start to improve. My 17-year-old recently really got interested in gardening. He's actually working with a local food forest here in
Oh,
our town.
lovely.
He's learning how to garden and he's helping them with their garden. And so he came home one day and he was like, "Mom, I'm gonna plant the whole winter garden and I'm gonna take care of the whole thing. You don't have to think about it."
Phenomenal. Phenomenal.
And what's really interesting about that is when he started working at the garden and he started taking agency over gardening tasks, his grades improved.
Hmm. Isn't that fascinating?
So when you said that, I was like, huh, yes, absolutely. That is a thing.
Interesting is, you're articulating an ownership by
Mhm.
him. So he doesn't see himself as like helping you with your task. He's an owner of it. And that becomes such a source of pride and achievement and success, and he's aware that he's doing something that's contributing to the wellness of your family, which is really impactful.
It is. It is. And it's really great to see the feeling they get when they're successful at something. The garden itself, he goes out every day and checks on his peas to make sure that they're growing. And he comes in and he reports to
Fantastic.
me, they're this tall and I
Yeah.
watered and I weeded and all of these things. And I'm like, that's so great. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for doing
Yeah.
that for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
It's so rewarding as a parent to see them feeling good about what they're doing.
More thing I wanted to mention, which I think is really important, especially in the context of what we're talking about today, which is a first responder lifestyle where there is that potentially long stretch from home, is that the objective at the core of fair play, it's really doesn't center chores. It's not about 50-50 chores at all.
Mm-mm.
The real magic is when you and your partner, and for that matter, all your family members, have equal amounts of joy, of time for rest, of time for personal and creative pursuits, of time for exercise, whatever it is that fills your cup. Equity in the family of those things is where we start. And the division of labor that allows for that is your magical formula. So the division of chores kind of falls out from everybody's fundamental wellness first. And so it takes some tweaking. You suggest that families like, have a starting point, but that they regroup, weekly or whatever the cadence is that makes sense for you given the away time. And just to say, okay, we started here. How's it working? How are people feeling? Do people have the right tasks? Are people feeling supported? And check in on that really, really frequently to ensure that everybody has what they need.
Hmm. Yep. And, the tasks change with kids and how they get older and all the things
Absolutely, they do.
evolving over time. And, one of the ways
Yeah.
that in our first responder family specifically, we do fair play is I just said, I need to not have to cook one day a week.
Hmm.
Like, I just need one day a week where somebody else takes completely over
Yep.
and I don't have to think about what we're going to plan for dinner tonight. Nothing. I don't have to go to the grocery store to get the things. And so we have a meal plan. And on Fridays when my husband's home, when he's home, it says firefighter cooks today.
And that's a boundary, which is really, really meaningful. And that's part of what fair play helps people to construct as well. So language systems and boundaries are the game changers of the flow of your home and the opportunity for equity. Absolutely. Something else that's really important too in the mix is these family conversations. There's an opportunity to go back to your core values. And also, a lot of families didn't even start there to begin with. We're so busy getting through everyday life. Have we ever sat down and said, as a family, this is what we value? This is what's really important to us. Most likely, families are doing things that they don't value because they think it's expected of them, or they think their neighbors are doing it, or they think someone's watching. The opportunity to come together, the five of you or whatever group it is, and say, okay, we can be whatever we want to be. This is our team. This is our organization. Nobody else matters. What do we want this house, this family to look like? And from those values, you can begin to discuss a division of labor. Something else that's really important too is the opportunity to connect with your family members to understand how you are all wired. Because even in one family, we are so totally different in how we like our spaces, in how we manage time, and how we complete tasks. And so before you start doling out things, it's really important to understand people's needs in terms of how they thrive in their space and what their capacity is to contribute. So these family conversations are really, really meaningful in that way.
Yeah, and I also think you hit capacity. So one of the things that my husband and I started doing pretty early on, I would say, "How was your shift? How much
Yeah.
sleep did you get? How do you want to be received back into the home?" Because
Interesting.
a lot of
Mhm.
times we're looking at it as a battery. How full is your battery, right?
Exactly.
Are you at 20%? Are you at 75%? And knowing what the capacity is for them to be able to come home and then reintegrate back into the family. Do you need a nap when you come home?
Yeah.
Can I keep things calm?
Yeah.
do we need to step outside the home for you to come home and be able to just decompress? Whatever works for the family, really,
Yeah.
that transition.
Yeah.
And I think that really helped us to be able to say, I'm at 100%, so I can come back and be fully there, or I'm at 20%, I need help, or I need whatever it
Yeah.
is at that time.
That's beautiful. And I hope that your battery is equally considered.
Yes, it is. Oh, of course, yeah. So once he has his time to come home and he maybe had his nap, then he can reintegrate back into the family, and then I'm like, "Okay, my battery is now at 50%. I
Right.
need to
Got
go
it.
out and do some self-care or
Yes.
do something enjoyable to refill my battery." And so
Hmm.
that's a really delicate dance that we have to do every week.
Yeah, I bet it is. Yeah,
It
I
is.
bet.
But
Hmm.
if you practice having those conversations when they're in the car on the way home, the night before they come home, whatever it looks like for your family, then you're all considering everyone. And I'm like in this place now where I'm like, marriage is not 50-50. Like it's not. It's
No,
100
it's an ebb
100.
and a flow. Yep.
Yeah. It's 100 100. And what is your 100% might not look the same as my 100% right now.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so it's a give and a take all the time.
All the time. You said it best. It's a dance.
And it's a delicate dance, and it's even more complicated by the other things that are coming into the home with your first responder from work. And so I think capacity is exactly it.
Yeah. And in that case, you always have the option of lowering your standards or
Yeah.
not doing something. And so it's not that the only option if your partner's capacity is very low is for then you to keep carrying everything. It's like, okay, what can you put down? Right?
Yes.
What can you not do? What can you outsource, if you have the resources for that? And in a nod to your lovely mom, like it doesn't have to be perfect. It really doesn't, especially in a community where there is so much pressure from other sources. Sometimes you just have to let some air out of that balloon. And like, who cares if you don't make your beds for a week? Who cares if you don't change your sheets for a week? Who cares if you use paper plates every night? Who cares? If
Mhm.
it takes something off of your plate that's going to keep you working for an extra hour at night and losing an hour of sleep, it's not worth it. Or if it's
No,
going to keep you in the kitchen while the rest of your family is in the living room, it's not worth it.
I outsourced the vacuuming to my robot vac.
Oh, great.
My little robot vacuums when I take the kids to school every morning, and I'm home and it's vacuumed. Like
Fabulous.
it's just that's one thing, but my whole thing is you lower the bar, and for
Lower
me,
it.
when he gets forced on duty or he's gone for a long period of time, I lower it again. It's like
Yep.
lower and lower and as low as I need to go in order to give myself relief.
You
And
can
so
do whatever you want. And your family, guess what? It's no one else's business.
yes.
And, as long as you feel safe in your space, and as long as everybody understands, like, because you communicate why you're making the decisions that you're making,
Mm,
do whatever it takes. If anyone else has anything to say about it, too bad for them.
that's on them. It's all my standards that I'm setting for myself. It doesn't matter
That's
what
right.
the standards are, right? You could take all those cards and literally get rid of half of them if you want to. Like, doesn't matter to
you
me.
a- you absolutely can. Yeah,
Just throw it away.
yeah.
I think that Christmas cards is in one of the cards. Who's gonna send the
It
Christmas cards?
is. Yep.
I'm like, nobody's gonna send the Christmas cards. That card could go away.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It becomes an opportunity to see what's really important to
Mhm.
you and your core. And as I mentioned before, you may not be aligned even within your own family. Like your husband might say, "No, I love Christmas cards." Well, guess what? He's going to do the Christmas cards. But it is really interesting because a cool place to start when you're having these conversations again about what you value, what you don't value. It's so helpful to understand how we each were raised in our childhood families, because that could be very instructive for understanding where your partner is coming from. And it's cool for the kids to hear it too. But very often, a husband will say, "Well, but my mom did everything." Well, that's really interesting, and it gives me a lot of insight into like how you're approaching this partnership, but that's not where I come from and that's not what I intend to be. So we have to begin to reframe this for our nuclear family. And, I'm very interested in you playing an important role in care, not just because I will feel supported, but because, for example, we have two daughters. And I want you to be modeling for them what they can be expecting in a partner someday. I mean, this has so many ripple effects.
Yeah, and that's the importance of the core values, right? Like,
That's right.
where do we get our core values from as an individual? From our parents and how we were raised.
Better or for worse, right? We may want to do things exactly as we were raised. And the example that you gave, you may be really intentionally making changes for how you do things. And it's just so neat to communicate that and for folks to understand where each other is coming from.
And if anybody's getting the wrong idea, I love my mother dearly. We're like best
Oh,
friends.
yes, yes, of course. But with every generation, we know more, we have access to more, we have a different kind of resource. It's interesting. I was giving a presentation last week, and one of the statistics that I shared with the group is that women who work outside the home today spend more hours in active care of their family and children than stay at home mothers did in the 1960s.
Wow.
So what has changed is the bar, is the expectation, is the definitions. And so we move with the times.
So my mom knows that about herself. She knows that she's a perfectionist. I mean, my husband, like 5 years into our marriage, we were on vacation and we were watching an infomercial, and it was for one of those steam cleaners, and it's
Love.
like showing it like cleaning all this dirt off.
So satisfying.
He's like, he's calling the 1-800 number and he's like frantic because he wants to buy this thing. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm never going to use that. And he's like, I'm buying it for your mom.
That's cute. That's adorable. Listen, I mean, I have to say props to your mom for me, because I love like a beautiful looking home. And it's funny because, I like everything off the surfaces, everything put away, everything just so. That's my jam. But my older son has a very different energy in his room and in his space. He likes to keep stuff out. He likes to be reminded of his memories and his achievements and his trophies and his whatever pictures of friends and Legos that he built, 7 years ago. Every surface is covered. He's very nostalgic. He loves to be surrounded. And so for me to go in there and say to him, well, this is absolutely no, this all needs to be put away, that doesn't honor him, how he thrives and his comfort level. So my opportunity is to teach him how to be his best self and to have the space that he wants, but to keep that space safe and tidy enough. And then he can thrive in whatever way he wants to. And I know, okay, we've agreed that there's never going to be, food in the room. And we've agreed that he's going to dust once a week and whatever it is. And so it's not that we all have to have the same standards, but we have to communicate about a basic standard of care that we can all agree to.
Percent. I,
There's a fine line that
yeah.
that we have to teach kids about safety, and we have to involve them in things that are age appropriate for them. Beyond that, it is really important for them to just understand how to be their best selves, even in terms of completion of a task. You may have a way of doing something and you can show it to them as like a guiding principle, but very often a kid's going to say, well, actually, I have my own way that I was thinking of attacking that or approaching that or whatever. And guess what? So often it's a better idea than
So
what you
here's,
what
yeah,
you
and
had.
I have a perfect example of that. My husband is also an avid gardener. That's one of his
Hmm.
outlets for when he comes home from
Lovely.
putting his hand in soil. And he loves to rototill his garden at the end of every
Hmm.
season.
Yeah.
Well, my son learned at his food forest that that's not necessarily the best way to do it here because we live in a
Oh.
coastal zone. And
Uh-huh.
so they're like, you need at least 10 inches of organic matter to make that soil grow. And if you're rototilling it up all the time, that organic matter's out there. So my son comes home and he goes, Dad, we need to stop rototilling the garden. That's why our vegetables
Right.
don't grow. And it caught my husband off guard. He was like, but that's how I've always done it. And he's like, well,
Right.
it's not how we should be doing it. And so that's kind of how the garden became the 17-year-old's responsibility in a backwards way, but, oh, okay, you wanna do it your way, then let's see how you do it your way, and,
Brilliant. Great example.
like, let them do it their way and
Yeah.
see if it works.
Well, and that is so critical in seeing the beautiful tasks of care, not as mom's responsibility that I help with, right? Because that doesn't take the mental load off of you because you're still constantly having to bring them in, right? They're waiting in the wings to be asked to help.
Mhm.
And you've shifted to like that ownership model, which is more about like, yeah, my way, my contribution, I'm connected to my passion. I'm doing something that I take to completion and I understand the impact that I'm having. Whereas when you pull in someone and just give them part of a task and say, oh, I need you to help me, and then they just do it and then they just leave, they don't have the same picture of the impact.
Mhm. Yep, exactly. Like, "Oh, you guys have a bathroom that's yours? That bathroom is yours. You're gonna
Good example, the bathroom.
That's your bathroom, so you're gonna
Yep.
do it."
Yep. I have on my Instagram is at our home, our pride. And I do a lot of examples of transitioning opportunities to participate to my kids and just the language that I use in it. And, you know, it happens very often that I will go to start doing something and I'll think to myself, well, hang on a second. This is like a great thing for my kids to do with me and for me to begin to like transition over to them. I mean, they're very capable. It's really connected to a benefit that goes directly back to them. And why do I always have to be the one to remember that this needs to be done and to take it to execution? This is a space that we all share. And so, you know, it's interesting because as I mentioned up front, I started as a partner who really was in 100% ownership of the work of care. You know, when my husband and I started out, we have teenagers now, so it was a little while ago. He had the role of generating revenue for our family, and my role was I'll do everything else. Well, we made that decision before we knew what everything else was. And then when you get into it and you recognize that this is really a depleting effort when you're in service to your family from dawn till dusk every day. I mean, it's absolutely impacting women's wellness. 80% of autoimmune diseases are diagnosed in women, twice the instances of stress and depression and anxiety disorders. And it's directly related to this load that we carry because of the way that society defines gender roles and expectations of women and families. And I know that it's a very gendered conversation and it's complicated to make generalizations all the time. And I also know that your audience probably consists of a lot of families where maybe the female partner is the first responder and maybe the male is back home. And also then there are same-sex partners, right? Who maybe it won't surprise you to know that this is actually less of an issue because gender roles don't come into play as much. But for the sake of this conversation that we're having today, two women and mothers talking to one another, inequity in domestic labor is impacting women's wellness, and fair play and its systems and language are an antidote to that. And it's really, really critical that we start these conversations together.
Yes, absolutely, and that's why we're having this one. So, before we wrap it up, is there anything else you want to add?
I think I just want to let people know that it's never too late to make changes and evolve the way that your family flows. I mean, you can always go back to your family and say, "Hey, I want you to know I learned something today and I thought it could be really meaningful for the way that we get on and get through every day." Or, hey, you know, I realized today that I might have missed something and I learned it and I can't unhear what I heard. And I feel like if it's something that we could talk about, we could really meaningfully reduce the amount of stress that we feel on a daily basis. Like the anxiety that we have around all this load that we carry, or the duplication, or the forgetfulness, or whatever it is. You're never too late. I mean, I'm coaching people well into their 60s who want to make meaningful changes in the way that they value this this work, which is really the work of nourishing and nurturing each other. It's beautiful work. It's the work of our humanity. And because it's unpaid, I think it tends to be unvalued. But really, this is the work that makes all of the work possible. This is the reason that your partner can be away for upwards of 21 days and know that his family is safe and well. It's because they're being cared for. And so nothing is more important than shining a light on that, and it's never too late.
You can always start over again tomorrow.
That's right.
This has been so great. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. Oh, my pleasure.
Yeah.
I hope it's meaningful. And I know people can't see me, but I did wear my fire engine red sweater today for all of the brave firefighters that we know more about what they're up against than ever because of this year's events. And I tip my hat to all of you, to the first responders, and to the families who are back home in support of that work. And it really means so much to know that you're all in that effort together.
How do people reach you?
My Instagram, as I mentioned before, is at Our Home, Our Pride. And I should say, when I talk about pride, it is not a pride in perfection, but a pride in feeling safe and happy in the choices that you make for your own family. If anyone wants to reach out on my website, if anyone's interested in coaching, or I also do workshops for bigger groups of people, if anyone wants to put something together, it's ourhomeourpride.com. And if anyone wants to connect with me on LinkedIn, it's Lori Sugarman-Li. I've written a lot about the work of care on LinkedIn. It's a real passion of mine, and I look forward to connecting. I should say my book, my book, Our Home, The Love, Work, and Heart of Family, is available everywhere books are sold. And I hope some people pick it up, and I hope it sparks meaningful conversations for your families.
And all of that will be in the show notes. So if you didn't catch it, it'll be in the show notes. Thank you so much for this conversation and being willing to talk to me. I really sincerely appreciate it.
I appreciate the opportunity to connect with your community. Thanks very much.